तेजश्री कहेंगे भाई एनी चांस आप क्लास में हो क्या? योगेश आप रिस्पॉन्ड कर सकते हैं क्या? आपने थर्ड असाइनमेंट मुझे सबमिट किया था क्या लास्ट टाइम का? ओके, मुझे आपका थर्ड असाइनमेंट नहीं मिल रहा है। हाँ, हार्ड कॉपी जब आप सबमिट करने आए थे तो उस दिन मैं नहीं थी, तो आप किस व्हाट्सएप को दिया था क्या? ओके ठीक है, we'll start actually. स्क्रीन क्लियर है मेरा?
Yes,
दिख
ma'am.
रहा है? ओके
Yes, ma'am.
okay, so we were basically studying about the 5 dysfunctions of a team. हमने 2 dysfunctions उसमें से पढ़ लिए थे. The first one is absence of trust and second one is there is always a fear of conflict. Conflict जो last class मैंने आपको बोला था कि avoiding of conflict is actually one of the most frequent dysfunctions. Avoiding of the conflict is one of the most dysfunctions. Like conflict अगर आप avoid कर लेते हो, you're not talking about it. When the team members they start avoiding a conflict and mostly like they aim to stop a conflict, here some kind of dissatisfaction arises, some kind of like a debate which can be extremely positive or which can be extremely effective for the team doesn't happen. So when that debate kind of thing does not happen and there is an avoidance of conflict, somewhere the team is not based on trust. Like the people in the team are not more likely like to trust each other. So conflict is one such situation which should be taken on, and conflict, every time conflict does not have to be a negative aspect. There can be some constructive conflicts also. Like when people start debating about the company behaviors or they start debating about any kind of processes, services, products even, or when they start debating about how to expand and how to reach on to good markets, how to expand more into the markets. So conflicts we always cannot say like it has to be a negative uh, terminology. It can also have a positive impact and positive term also. So once the foundation of trust is built on, once the foundation of trust is built on, building of a trust is actually one of the first step of like overcoming the dysfunction that arises in a team. Once trust is built on, then we can take on a conflict. Now we'll go to the third part, third step of like why this dysfunction arises. The third is called as lack of commitment. The third is called as lack of commitment. Commitment is actually one of the most fundamental reason of a success. Like it is one of the greatest traits or one of the key traits in which actually makes a great team. Which actually makes a great team because once ठीक है बच्चे wait करते हैं मैं कैसे start करूँ and they will go on joining. Okay, so we are talking about commitment. Hopefully no one else will join and disturb me again. So when we talk about commitment, it is actually one of the greatest characteristics that make or one of the greatest or a key trait that make the teams, they can stand by the decisions and they can stand by each other. So when we say like we have a commitment, when people are committed to the team, they will only make itself know like whatever decision that has been taken, it has been the best decision and no other decision would be hampering them. Like जब लोग commit करते हैं team members को, then we assume that like we know like any decision that is taken by these people are the best decision because once they are committed to the team, they are also committed to the strategy. Now, as like हमने second step में पढ़ा है conflict. Conflict is like it cannot always be negative, it can also be constructive. So it is one fundamental process that identifies the best strategies, and once that best strategy is identified or best strategy is decided, every team member on that team will be committed to it. So even if there are people who do not disagree, like who disagree and who do not agree to certain decisions, they must be fully committed. Like, they must be fully committed. It's like whatever productive conflict that has taken place, the productive conflict actually allows people to be better committed to the decision, even if they disagree. And like great teams understand like what it is mean, like everyone has to be committed, and they understand that it is not an individual goal, rather it is a greater goal. So even if the decision is made is not the one that has been voiced, like it has been taken collectively, suppose there is one person's opinion in a team and the thoughts that are not properly discussed, so if one person is not involved in that decision making, it is very likely that they will not be much committed to this they will not be much committed to whatever decision you have taken. Rather, they will always have an alternative opinion. This is one point where there is a lack of commitment happens. A lack of commitment is making it like it. When it lack of commitment happens, it is totally impossible to achieve a like consensus बोलते हैं, like इकट्ठा जिसको बोलते हैं, consensus among the team. It will lead to disinterest. It will lead to resentment. It will lead to stagnation. So what the leaders can do that? They have to develop this commitment by encouraging each team member to contribute to the every decision. Like the leader must promote this open exchange over and over again, like until it becomes accepted. Like they will have to rotate those decisions. Like what is your opinion? What is your point of view? Now once the atmosphere, once the culture is one of agreeing to disagree, like there has to be a real progress that has to be made. So once people start, there is a culture that has been created, there is a constructive conflict that emerges and people start agreeing to disagreeing and they have a real different view. So the real progress here starts. Like every team decision has to be reviewed after every meeting, and there has to be a very defined roles and deadlines that the leader has to be committed. Now, when commitment however is not one such thing, which is like lack of commitment will lead to a dysfunction. Now, when it is commitment, there should be an accountability that relies on that commitment. Like there are healthy teams which are healthy, they assign accountability and they hold their members to be accountable. Like if there are 5 members in a team and they have taken a decision and they have gone forward to it, so those 5 members are actually accountable for the decision that they have been taken. Even if when the things leave, they have to be accountable. Even if the things goes for a greater good, they are accountable. Like if it is a good thing, then they are responsible. Even if it is a bad thing, they are responsible. Now, without a team commitment, the team members will always like they will avoid accountability. मैंने तो decision नहीं लिया था, why should I take the responsibility? So if there is no team commitment to the decision, the team members will always avoid accountability, and like team members who commit to an idea or those who have a decision that we should go do it, they feel like okay, they feel when team members they committed to an idea, they have a decision because they feel like their input matters and expect to be held accountable. Here input seems unimportant. Like here it feels like they are not responsible for the results. The lack of accountability in individual will always weaken the accountability of a team. Suppose 5 लोगों का team है, 5 लोग, like we have said, 5 people are of different personalities, none of them are same. They have to take a decision. Now when they take a decision, one among them will be leader, and that leader should ensure that कि जो decision आता है, the 4 of them have a say in it. It's not like person 2 will be saying like I don't agree with it, there is an alternative solution. If you people go to this solution, this will be helpful. And then three of them do not agree to this that solution. So in that in that 5-member team, 4 लोग एक decision को commit करेंगे, एक उनमें से commit नहीं करेगा. And that एक member will always say कि मैंने तो decision नहीं लिया था, मैंने तो ये नहीं बोला था. Why should I take a responsibility over here? Okay, so यहाँ पे जो आता है, it is said like if one person is not ready to accept the decision that has been taken by whole team, then here one kind of situation arises which actually leads to dysfunction of a team. So as a leader, it is a responsibility to see that the decision is being accepted by everyone and everyone has a say to it. A constructive conflict has to emerge from this decision so that everybody accepts the decision. Once that decision has been accepted, all of them has to take a responsibility. Take a responsibility in the sense like all of them has to be committed. Even if it is for a good, then all of them are responsible. Even if it is for a bad, then all of them are responsible. So this is what lack of commitment says. Next one is when there is an avoidance of, let me move, lack of commitment. Like we are done with lack of commitment. Next one we talk about is your, show you something. Okay. Avoidance of accountability. The fourth point is avoidance of accountability. Accountability very specifically, just a minute. मेरा स्क्रीन क्लियर है आप लोगों को?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Okay, when we talk about avoidance of accountability, when we talk about accountability, it actually refers like specifically to the team members, like their willingness.
Ma'am,
Yes.
screen is not visible.
ये देखो, आया अभी?
हाँ, अभी दिख रहा है मैम.
Okay.
माइक ऑफ करिए.
Okay, so when we talk about accountability, it actually specifically refers to the person. When we talk about accountability, it refers specifically to the willingness of the team members, or when there is a performance, it is like the performance or the behavior of the team members that we are referring to. Just a minute. Just a minute. So when we talk about this accountability, we specifically refer to the willingness of a team member, or we say talk about the performance of the behavior of the team member individually, which might hurt the team if they do not act, they do not kind of like they do not agree to the members of the team. It might hurt to the team. Now, when we talk about this dysfunction, the importance of this dysfunction is actually like unwillingness of a team member to tolerate, or when there is an interpersonal discomfort between the members, or when there is like when there is a calling up, companies calling up peer group behavior. Peer group behavior मतलब if there is a tendency among your group, peer group मतलब आपका group में student group behavior जो रहता है. And no, it is like a general tendency to avoid a very difficult conversation. Like you are not okay with certain areas, you are not okay with conversing in certain areas, and that is what like peer group behavior is. So when we talk about accountability, जैसा हमने बोला कि that it might hurt the total behavior of the team, it might hurt the performance of the team, it might hurt like team members have to be accountable. Once decision has to be taken, but then if they are not accountable, if they are avoiding that accountable, so here dysfunction arises, and that dysfunction might be the result of like they are not totally okay with the interpersonal relation between themselves, or there is a discomfort when it comes to understanding of the peer behavior. Like all of you, the 5 people in a team might be same, but then if one of them is a dominant person, So one might be discomfort. One might have a discomfort in dealing with that person. So here a general tendency kind of situation arises where they try totally to avoid conversation with that team. Like they believe that when there is a team discussion that is happening, अगर पांचों में से एक is a dominant behavior है, जो अगर आप उसको कुछ भी solution दो तो he or she dominates and then give some alternative thing or something. Here it is a kind of situation where people will try to avoid a behavior. Whenever there is a conversation happening, they will start avoiding that conversation. Like they will rather like to keep quiet. They will rather like to keep quiet rather than entering into a dangering zone. So in this kind of situation, like if it is a very great team, if it is like the interpersonal relations are quite defined and the people are quite okay with itself, there is a comfort zone in the team. Like all team members know what is their objectives, what is their role, and they know like even if we have a decision we have taken, then we five of us are responsibility. So in this kind of situation, what happens? Like they start respecting each other and they have a high expectations of each other's performance. The most efficient and the effective means of maintaining this high standard of a performance in a team is actually peer pressure. Like there are 5 people, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Agar one is performing well, then there is a pressure on 2, 3, 4, 5 that they have to perform well. If 1, 2, 3 are performing very well, then there is a pressure on 4 and 5 that they have to perform well. Like more than any policy, more than any rules, more than anything that has been written on or any system oriented, there is nothing like to fear of letting down. Rather than this is because of our respected teammates. 4 and 5 will think like if we do not perform, we are letting down our teammates of 1, 2, and 3. So anyway, we have to perform. Like this is somewhat which is like kind of like performing. Team ko respect deke they perform. So under this situation, how do teams ensure accountability? अगर ये ग्रुप एक्सरसाइज है, सपोज टीम में 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 या आप में से 5 लोग कोई भी हो, एंड यहाँ पे हमें एक कमिटमेंट बिल्ड करना है. Like here we need to understand like there should not be any avoidance among the team. How do we start building a commitment? How do we make them accountable for whatever decision we have taken? The first thing is we need to publish all the goals and standards. Like it is a very good way. It is very easier for the team members to understand like what are the goals and what are the standards of what should be the standards of performance. So once that has been published, each team member they will hold one another accountable. Like one is responsible for this part, 2 is responsible for this part, and they will once we publish those goals and standards, they will clarify and very publicly they will understand like each other's role. एक का रोल क्या है, 2 का रोल क्या है, 3 का रोल क्या है, वो लोग समझ लेंगे. And then they will deliver and everybody must behave that they are delivering so that they will be succeeding. Next one is a simple and regular progress review, जो कि second method of encouraging the team members. Simple and regular progressive reviews is regularly they would be communicating with each other, either it is verbally or in writing. And how they feel about their team members and how they are, according to them, how their team members are doing. And they will be doing it against the stated goals and standard. जो goal and standard आपने पहले publish किया था ना, second step में is like regularly they will be communicating. Each of the team members will regularly be communicating, and they will be either communicating verbally or they will be writing it down, and they would have to feel like how their team members are doing. The third and most important thing is giving them team rewards. Team rewards is something which you are shifting the individual performance towards a team achievement. It is just like you are creating a culture within a team. You are creating a culture of accountability. Once you give team rewards, it is not an achievement of an individual person. It is not like one has worked and 4 of the people are getting a reward. It is totally a team rewards. And this occurs when like team is very likely to stand quietly, like 1 is standing with 2, 2 is standing with 3, 3 is standing with 4. तो कैसा आता है जब peer pressure भी आता है, when 4 and 5 somewhere fail that they are not able to do them, 1, 2, 3 are helping them in doing or performing their job. So team rewards is kind of a situation where they will be shifting the rewards from individual performance to the team performance. Now, what is the role of leader in this team? Sorry, what is the role of the leader while doing this dysfunction? Like, it is one of the most difficult challenge for a leader here, where like there is something which you need to instill among the team members. It is very difficult. Like, आप लोग घर से एक चीज सीख के आए हो. There is something which your parents have taught you. There is something that is in your culture and something your parents have taught you. It is very difficult, me being a third person, to instill another one of your virtues, or instilling another one thing of your culture. Again, like you, there are 125 students in MBA. There is one thing that I need to instill among you is competitiveness. Competitiveness in the sense, like, there is like jobs are limited. There is very few few openings in companies. When I talk about companies, let's say like good companies. So one thing that I need to instill among you is competitiveness. Like, if there are 20 students in a specialization X, now 20 students should be able to get a very good job. Now there has to be a competitiveness among these 20 students. This is what I need to instill. Okay, so it is very difficult to instill actually, and it is one of the most difficult challenges for a leader, because those 20 students are not the same. They are of different, they come from different backgrounds. There might be students who are like, who are quite privileged, like they are doing an MBA just for the sake of doing an MBA. There are people who actually need a job, and there are people who are quite talented and they do not get appropriate opportunities and they do not get appropriate scopes. So, like, people are, like, students are of different categories. Instilling one characteristics of competitive among them will be quite difficult for a team leader. Similarly, if you convert that to a situation in an organization, for suppose a leader who has to instill accountability in the team. Accountability is taking of responsibility, and has to encourage, and they has to allow the team to be, first and primary in terms of taking of responsibility. For example, like creating a culture of accountability. If it is good, then it is you. If it is bad, also it is you. So here the leader has to be an arbiter for discipline, like somebody who has to be very strict and somebody who has to be standing straight when it comes to discipline. And this discipline will actually lead the team members to believe in that leader and progress accordingly. This is actually a very rare occurrence. Like, it must be very clear to the team members that once that leader has given, they always look up to what that team leader will be doing. They always look up to like what that team leaders will be assigning. And whenever it also comes to accountability, it is never like one person will be trusting the team leaders. All 5% has to trust the team leaders, and it has to be a team responsibility. It is not like आज अगर सब चीजें बुरा हो गया तो we will start blaming one. It is not like that. If सब चीजें बुरा हो गया, then it is the leader who has to take the responsibility. If सब चीजें अच्छी हो गया, then it is a team which has to take the responsibility. Then only the team leader can able to instill accountability in the team. Then we talk about the last dysfunction of a dysfunction. The last dysfunction is inattention to results. So when it comes to inattention to results, always remember we are talking about dysfunctions of a team. We are not talking about the functions of a team. We are talking about what are the dysfunctions that lead to an ineffective team. So यहाँ पे whenever we are talking about each of the steps, you can see there is always we are starting with like absence of trust will lead to dysfunction of a team. Fear of conflict will lead to dysfunction of a team. Lack of commitment, it will something lead to dysfunction of a team. Like avoidance of accountability, it will lead to dysfunction of a team. Inattention, I'm not talking about attention to results. If it has been attentions to result, it would have been functions of a team. But it is inattentions to result. When I say inattention to result, like it is the ultimate dysfunction of a team, and it is like the members they care about something other than any collective goals of the group. Like 5 members, other than giving you example, if each member will look after like if I am doing this project, this will look good in my CV. So I'll be doing this project irrespective of its success, irrespective of its failure. I'm getting this project because it will look good on my CV. So here it is something which is leading to inattention to results. Like the members have to care about the total group results rather than an individual results. Like मैंने अपना काम कर लिया, अभी किसको क्या करना है अभी देख लो. This is something which is leading to dysfunctions, okay? And this is something which we see in team. Mano ya na mano, even if when you start working, you will find people like this. Like there will be responsibility. अब कितना भी you start instilling group behavior, you do start doing any kind of management task, teams, any trainings you take, but then there are people who are very much individual oriented. Like मैंने अपना काम कर लिया, आप आपका देख लो. Okay? So this is what inattention to results is. Here there shall be an unrelenting focus on specific objectives. There should be a very unrelenting matlab, there should be a pura focus. Matlab there should not be any diversion from that focus. So there should be a very core focus on specific objectives. There should be very clearly defined outcomes and whatever requirement of any team that has to be fulfilled, and then the performance should have a judge. Okay. This is like results when we talk about, it is not limited to any financial results that we talk about. Like we are not talking about कि ये project ले लिया तो what profit, what revenue, what is the shareholder return that we will be getting. No, we are rather talking about in a very broader definition of results. Like we talk about an outcome based performance where like total performance जो हम बोलते हैं वो आता है. Like every good organization they specify like what it plans, like how to be achieved, timeline जो बोला जाता है, what is a plan, what is a timeline, what are the goals, and what will be the financial metrics like आपका जो profit revenue जो रहता है, जो cost पे आता है, what will be the financial metrics, and what it drives to achieve those results. Like what will be the controllable results, not uncontrollable results, but then something in the hands of the people. So here, as we talk about profit may be the ultimate result, profit may be the ultimate measure of like what is your team performances in the long term. If you see, profit is the ultimate result, but then the goals and objectives that the company sets up and the way it constitutes the people who are representing the company, the example like the culture that they are building in the company, the culture that they are building so that the team is thriving is actually one of the major goals. जब भी हम टीम का बनाते हैं ना, like whenever we do a team, जब every organization they specifically draw a plan होने के बाद they do assign timelines के बाद like they set up goals. What are the financial metrics? Like goals will lead to financial metrics. What it will be required, how they will be achieving it, and ये सब करने के बाद what will be the results or what will be the controllable results, not uncontrollable results, जो कि अपने हाथ में रहेगा. ये होने के बाद अगर आप देखोगे, then 1 year के बाद we are already going to a point where it is called as profit. Profit आएगा हमारे पास. But then profit is one such aspect. In between that 1 year, when we are defining teams, when we are defining culture, when we are defining the goals and objectives, somewhere you are creating a very good environment, somewhere you are creating an interpersonal relations among the people, somewhere you are, people are being representative of the results that you will be achieving. So this is kind of good. So when we talk about, like here the teams have to be focused on results. Team status is more important than an individual status, rather than a prime candidate here, suppose someone who is very good, rather than the individual status, they have to be concerned on team status. Like for team status, the members like who are in a part of a team, being part of a team is actually good enough for them. They are very satisfied. There are people in organizations, rather than individual status, rather than recognizing me to be one individual person, if I am part of a team, I am very proud of it. Like I am very proud of it. Like as a team, we are achieving specific results. As a team, we are very good. We have a very good communication. As a team, we are being appreciated. I am very happy with it. Then there are people who are very much concerned about the individual status. Like individual status, if I am a person, then I am very much concerned to who I am and how I am contributing. If I am contributing more, then then this is something like of an individual. Like here, you're not talking about a team. Here, I as a person is working more and contributing to the organization. It is somewhat a negative aspect that we'll talk that if we talk about an individual status when it comes while we are discussing team. Like suppose there is a functional team and this functional team delivers result on the basis of the group who are in that team. So here each individual is like contributing towards the team rather than each individual member's goal. That is what your individual status is. Like each individual is contributing more toward the team. This is called as a team status rather than individual member's goal. Individual member's goal is your individual status. Now if this is a dysfunction which arises, if there is a dysfunction which arises because you are not paying attention to the results or inattention to the results, what will you be doing? The first, for overcoming that inattention to the result, the first thing which you will be doing is you will be publicly declaring the results. You will be publicly declaring the results where like teams that are willing to come publicly, they will be specifically, they will be publishing the results and they are more likely to work with a very passion and they are even desperate to achieve those results. Second is you'll have to give them result-based rewards, like an effective way to ensure that the team members keep focus their attention on the results is to tie them with the rewards, especially compensation to achieve specific outcomes. Like as a team, if you are performing well, then your individual compensation as an individual increases. So what is the role of a leader here? As a leader, like then you must set a tone and that tone must focus on the results. Team leaders must work selflessly, they should be very objective and they should reserve the rewards and recognition only for those who make real contributions to achieving those group goals. So this is the role of a leader. Now I will be sharing something to you. This is the very famous pyramid that has been made. Share this. Windows. Okay. Is my screen visible to you all?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, this is a pyramid that has been made. Okay, this pyramid focuses on like members of a dysfunctional team, उन लोगों का characteristics, members of a trusting team, उन लोगों का characteristics. Okay, so when there are, this is how it has gone: absence of trust, fear of conflict, lack of commitment, avoidance of accountability, inattention to the results. This is how they are going to solve. जो बीच में जो है ना, ये बीच में solve कैसा किया जाएगा? How they will be solving the dysfunctions. And this is like, if there is a dysfunctional team, these are the characteristics. If it is a functional team or if it is a trusting team, then this is the characteristics. This is actually given in the book itself. और ये कैसे derive हुआ है? ये questionnaire से derive हुआ है. Let me search for that questionnaire. If I am getting that questionnaire, I'll show it to you. Yes, this is a questionnaire. This is the 5 dysfunctions of a team. Absence of trust is invulnerability. Fear of conflict is artificial harmony. Lack of commitment is ambiguity of the result. Avoidance of accountability is your low standards. Inattention to results is status and ego. So this is how the questionnaire. This is a questionnaire. ये when you are in a leadership position, ये देखो ये questionnaire आप आपके team members के साथ share कर सकते हो. Once you get, आपका स्टेटमेंट वाइज उसका स्कोरिंग होता है. एक स्कोरिंग वो बुक में दिया गया है. हाउ आर यू गोइंग टू स्कोर ईच स्टेटमेंट वाइज एंड यू हैव टू राइट द टोटल ओवर हियर. आपका इसमें से टोटल जो ज्यादा आएगा, सपोज यू आर गेटिंग अ हायर स्कोर हियर, इट मींस योर टीम मेंबर हैव अवॉइडेंस ऑफ अकाउंटेबिलिटी. if your score is higher over here, it means your team members are having a dysfunction too, and it is fear of conflict. उसके बाद ये आएगा, ये आपका जो भी स्कोर आएगा, स्कोर के बाद this is what they have come into. Like this is a characteristics that is ruling in your team, which in other words is here. Like if you are members of a dysfunctional team, wherever they are scoring, this is what their score will be. And this is what you can do so that you will be reaching a point here. Members of trusting teams. अगर यहाँ पे किसी में एक आपका characteristics आता है, suppose like you are your team members fall under this category, there is a fear of conflict. This is what you can do. After doing this, you can have this all these characteristics. Like you have to practice this. Am I clear?
Yes, ma'am.
I'll share this with you so that this is actually one very important exercise as a part of as a part of your study, since we have studied it very much theoretically, but this is an exercise kind of thing which we would have done if you would have been in the class. This whole subject is actually a very practical oriented subject. It has very good things to learn from, and being MBA students, when tomorrow you will be joining in companies, either you will be a part of a team in your initial days, then after some experience, you people will be leading teams. So this is actually very essential so that you could understand what it goes in the mind of a team leader. How do they play? How to be a very good team player? All these things. I'll be sharing it with you. Okay. In the meantime, Tejashri, are you there in the class? I saw her joining. So is she there in the class? No, she isn't there. I think I saw her joining. Anyway, I think there is some kind of miscommunication that has happened. Like last class on Saturday, I was telling you I'll give you an assignment, and this is how you need to solve that assignment. I have not given an assignment, but I found like 2 of you have submitted your assignments already. I have not even given you a question. I have not even framed that question in my mind. Okay, so I found like 2 of you have already submitted me assignments based on what we had discussed. That will not be valid actually. Once I give you assignment, you give me answers accordingly. हेलो मैं क्लास में हूँ. Contemporary frameworks and management, we have covered 3 topics. Like our next class tomorrow, I'll be starting with 21 irrefutable laws of leadership. Any doubts till now? You will be answering MCQs on this basis. There is no MCQs made till now on this subject. This is the first time that you people will be attending the MCQs. Anything that goes top with you people?
No, मैम जो HRM का असाइनमेंट दिया था वो एक बार समझाएंगे फिर से.
अच्छा, वो HRM का असाइनमेंट मैं अब तक दी नहीं हूँ, जो मैं आपको दिखा रही हूँ कि ऐसा होगा बोल के. एक मिनट, मैं आपको ये क्लियर करती हूँ पहले, फिर आपको वो दिखाऊंगी. एक मिनट, मुझे ये सब्जेक्ट आपको दिखा के क्लियर करना है, फिर मैं आपको दिखाती हूँ वो वाला. So we covered with emotional intelligence, then we had the 7 habits of highly effective people, then we covered the 5 dysfunctions of a team. Tomorrow, from next class onwards, I'll be covering the 21 irrefutable laws of leadership. Each of the law have an example. Each of the laws in today's time, each of this law has an example, and then we'll complete it with good to great. There are 5 reference books for this, like Emotional Intelligence is Daniel Goleman, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People is Stephen Covey, 5 Dysfunction is Lenny Cody, your 21 Irrefutable Laws is Maxwell, and Good to Great is Collins. So we do not have anything extra in this subject. Like there is no MCQs that has still been done in this subject because you people will be the first batch who will be giving the exam on this subject. Last time ये subject था, बच्चे पढ़े थे पर कोई exam नहीं हुआ था. There was nothing made on this subject. So kind of like what questions you will be getting is also another question mark, and whether, because this is not a subject, ये ऐसा नहीं है कि HRM के ऊपर है या ट्रेनिंग एंड डेवलपमेंट के ऊपर है या मार्केटिंग के ऊपर है, then you could write. इसके ऊपर questions भी क्या आएंगे, it's a very strong, like it's a very strange thing. Like last time आपका जो management as a subject था, that you know, like you have been studying planning, you have been studying organizing, या पढ़े थे. There were high books on that. But ये जो subject है, these are 5 different books. So I am not pretty sure like वो किस चीज पे MCQs डालेंगे. Anything, just remember कि इनका 4 points क्या है, and then उस basis पे आप लोग exam attend करोगे. Like emotional intelligence का 5 core points थे: self awareness, managing emotions, motivation, empathy, social skills, social awareness. 7 habits of the highly effective people के 7 habits थे. 5 dysfunctions के 5 dysfunctions थे, and 21 irrefutable के 21 laws है. Good to great में भी वैसे ही 4 या 5 leadership skills, levels of leadership उन्होंने दिखाया है. So kind of like I'll give you something which I have like पढ़ाने के लिए जो है, this is totally I follow from the books. I have all the books, I follow from the books, I summarize it and I give it to you. Let's see how you will be doing. So we are complete with 3 chapters of this subject. Tomorrow I will be starting with 21 irrefutable laws of leadership. I plan to complete it in another 2 weeks. 2 weeks and we will be done and closed. Okay. बाकी रहा किसका, आप मुझे बोल रहे हो? HR का आपको बोल रहे थे क्या?
HRM का जो लास्ट लेक्चर में आपने बताया था.
ओके. अब वो मैं आपको और किसी क्लास में बताती हूँ, आज नहीं. ओके, ये लेक्चर में नहीं.
थैंक यू.
वो मैं आपको, आप मुझे पिंग करो, मैं आपको तभी बता देती हूँ. एक बार मैंने आपको क्लियर कर दिया था ना, आप मुझे पिंग करो, मैं आपको फिर से बता देती हूँ. मे बी आज कल में मैं आपको वो असाइनमेंट दे दूंगी. आई रिपीट अगेन, मैंने असाइनमेंट नहीं दिया था. मैंने उस दिन आप लोगों को दिखाया था कि आप असाइनमेंट कैसे करोगे. ओके, तेजश्री ने मुझे असाइनमेंट भेज के दिया, जो कि मैंने दिया भी थी. इज आपका जो ये यूनिवर्सिटी लेवल सब्जेक्ट्स है, वन ऑफ योर इज दिस कंटेम्पररी फ्रेमवर्क्स इन मैनेजमेंट, अनदर वन इज योर जियोपॉलिटिक्स. बट देन इसके ऊपर आपको कोई भी असाइनमेंट नहीं दिया जाएंगे. दिस इज लाइक यू टोटली विल बी अटेंडिंग इट फ्रॉम द यूनिवर्सिटी. कुछ प्रॉब्लम आ रहा है क्या जियोपॉलिटिक्स में?
नो मैम, इट्स गुड मैम.
नो मैम.
अच्छे से चल रहा है ना जियोपॉलिटिक्स एंड वर्ल्ड इकोनॉमी? क्योंकि ये वाला सब्जेक्ट पहली बार पढ़ाया जा रहा है, तो काइंड ऑफ इसके ऊपर बुक भी नहीं है, इसके ऊपर क्वेश्चंस भी नहीं है, कुछ भी नहीं है. एंड दिस इज एक्चुअली अ ओल्ड सब्जेक्ट. स्टार्टअप एंड न्यू वेंचर मैनेजमेंट, इट इज अ वेरी ओल्ड सब्जेक्ट, लाइक एज ओल्ड एज द स्टार्टिंग ऑफ एमबीए इटसेल्फ. तो इसके ऊपर भरपूर एमसीक्यूज आपको मिलेंगे, भरपूर एमसीक्यूज, जो कि पुणे यूनिवर्सिटी से भी निकले हैं. उसका बैंक है, क्वेश्चन बैंक है. बट ये जो ऊपर के 2 सब्जेक्ट हैं, इसका कुछ भी नहीं है. कंटेम्पररी फ्रेमवर्क्स का कुछ भी नहीं है, कि जियोपॉलिटिक्स का कुछ भी नहीं है. इसका बहुत सारा एमसीक्यूज है. इसका एमसीक्यू सर ने शेयर करना स्टार्ट किया है?
नो मैम.
कहाँ पे है? कौन सा सब्जेक्ट, कौन से चैप्टर में हो आप लोग? कौन से चैप्टर में हो आप लोग?
मैडम अभी मिक्स्ड इकोनॉमी हुआ है अभी. कौन खत्म हो गया है. मिक्स्ड इकोनॉमी.
जियोपॉलिटिक्स का नहीं पूछ रहे सर मैम.
नहीं, मैं एसएमडीएम पूछ रही हूँ, स्टार्टअप एंड न्यू वेंचर मैनेजमेंट पूछ रही हूँ.
फर्स्ट चैप्टर ही चालू है मैम.
फर्स्ट कंप्लीट नहीं हुआ है, ठीक है. ओके, इसके ऊपर आपको कोई जरूर मतलब कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं आएगा. एसएमडीएम में आपका पूरा सेकेंड सेमेस्टर में ना ये जियोपॉलिटिक्स का प्रॉब्लम आएगा, कंटेम्पररी फ्रेमवर्क का प्रॉब्लम आएगा, और ये बिजनेस एनालिटिक्स है ना आपका. बिजनेस एनालिटिक्स है ना आप लोगों को? नहीं, बिजनेस एनालिटिक्स आपका नहीं है। नहीं, और सारे सब्जेक्ट्स के
नहीं मैडम, कॉमन
नहीं कॉमन में नहीं है। नहीं, और सारे सब्जेक्ट्स को आपको मिल जाएंगे, सिर्फ वही 2 सब्जेक्ट्स का आपको प्रॉब्लम आएगा। वो पूरा टोटली नया सब्जेक्ट है, मतलब इट इज प्रिविलेंट ऑल ओवर पुणे यूनिवर्सिटी। अब तक क्वेश्चन से नहीं बने हैं। लेट्स सी उसके ऊपर क्या किया जाता है, क्या किया जा सकता है। मैं आपके साथ मेरे नोट्स शेयर करूंगी, if that will be of help, then so be it. बट देन थोड़ा एक्टिव रह के वो एग्जाम्स जब देना है ना, थोड़ा एक्टिव रह के देना, दैट देयर इज नथिंग कॉल्ड एज नो काइंड ऑफ, जैसे आप एचआरएम वगैरह में पढ़ते हो, देयर इज नथिंग परमानेंट आंसर और नथिंग टू द पॉइंट आंसर। थोड़ा पॉइंट के आंसर देना। आई माई सेल्फ इज नॉट श्योर ऑन हाउ द क्वेश्चन पैटर्न विल बी। एक बार मीटिंग में पता चल जाएगा क्वेश्चन पैटर्न कैसा है, बट देन टिल टुडे आई एम नॉट श्योर अबाउट हाउ द क्वेश्चन पैटर्न विल बी। सो थोड़ा सा अलर्ट रह के वहां पे एग्जाम देना। ओके, एनीथिंग मोर, एनी डाउट्स?
नो मैम।
मैडम ये एमसीक्यू एग्जाम कब होगा?
आपका एग्जाम अगस्त में होगा, क्योंकि आपके ऊपर बैच का एग्जाम जुलाई लास्ट वीक में स्टार्ट हो रहा है, तो आपका एग्जाम अगस्त में हो जाएगा। उनका खत्म होने के बाद ही आपका एग्जाम होगा। जब अगस्त खत्म होगा, देन यू हैव 45 डेज एज योर समर इंटर्नशिप। बट देन वो जो समर इंटर्नशिप होगा, सिंस इट विल बी वेरी डिफिकल्ट फॉर यू टू गो टू कंपनीज, जो लोग कंपनी में है उन लोगों का ठीक है, बट देन जो लोग कंपनी में नहीं है, इट विल बी डिफिकल्ट टू गो टू द कंपनीज, तो आप लोगों का डेस्क रिसर्च हो जाएगा। Desk research is one way it's good. Desk research one way is good. Maybe like you will be starting your third sem immediately. इसके बाद अगस्त में ही शायद आपका थर्ड सेम चालू हो जाएगा, तो दिसंबर में आपका थर्ड सेम कंप्लीट हो जाएगा। देन यू आर इन ट्रैक, फोर्थ सेम आपका मई में कंप्लीट हो जाएगा, जैन टू मई में कंप्लीट हो जाएगा आपका।
यस मैम।
Okay, any more doubts, any more questions? Shall I leave the class now?
Yes ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Thank you ma'am.